everybody, to the Hallmarkies podcast. I am your host, Kaycee, and I am joined by my lovely co-hosts, Kari and Cami.
Hello.
Hi, guys.
Hi. This will be so much fun because I think this is the first time the three of us will be together by ourselves.
Yeah.
Recapping some
It's only
fun.
the second time that Kari and I have done something together. So
That's true. I think this is the third time that me and Kari have done something together. So
It's fun now. I'm getting some podcasts in the bank here, you know.
we're working here real hard here, Kari.
And
my
Kaycee,
tens to your hundreds. That's what it is.
and Kaycee's just getting tired of me. So bring on someone else, please.
No. Who can
No,
get tired of you? Bliss. Well, I think this is actually the first time that I've talked to mysteries on the podcast, at least about the movies. I have done a fun little, let's talk about all the mysteries with Rachel and Jackson Shaw. So that was super fun. But I don't think I've ever done a mystery movie recap. So I'm super stoked because mysteries, that's my jam, y'all. That is my jam.
He is a sleuther.
Yeah, the mysteries have a special place in my heart. How about you guys?
So I've done that, what I can think of. I've done one other mystery recap. I did it with Rachel, and it was the crossword mysteries. With Brendan Elliott and Brennan Elliott and Lacey Chabert.
Love those.
So yeah, those are, I think that was the only other mystery recap that I've ever done.
Yeah.
So.
I've never done a recap. I've never talked about the mysteries on Hallmark, but I love them. And I really didn't discover them until January of this year. And so I've had some really fun, can you believe it? I know.
Oh,
really fun catching up to do. And I'll pull my kids in with these because they love the mysteries, except when I realized they started to be like, you know, we just were casually talking about murder in my home. And I was like, what am I doing? Should they be watching these movies with me? But they love them. And, you know, there's every once in a while, there's a time where I'm like, okay, guys, remember, we never, you know, we want to be truthful in our lives. And like, it's a teachable moment. You know?
It is.
But they're super fun. I love them.
My girls are getting sucked in by them. I said, you girls, this is too scary. No, we're fine. Do not come to my room when you wake up with a nightmare.
Exactly. I mean, Hallmark handles these mysteries because they're mostly murder mysteries very well. And, you know, to the point where I'm like, this isn't a happy occasion, you know, like this is a nice, this is actually a scary thing that this happens to Aurora all the time.
Constantly.
All the time. Yeah. So this will be a super fun tonight. We will be recapping the latest two mysteries, Picture Perfect Mysteries, movie number 3, Exit Stage Death, and Aurora Teagarden, Reunited, and It Feels So Deadly. Ugh. Two very, very different ones, but we are going to start with Picture Perfect Mysteries. This one is, while backstage photographer Allie Adams, played by Alexa Penavega, discovers the body of the show's leading lady murdered before the curtain went up. Whew. So
that's a no-no, especially in the theater world. You make somebody miss a cue.
This is hilarious that you say that. Actually, my daughter, who was watching it with me, she was like, this is a really like a big time production with a critic from the New York Times or wherever there. She's like, don't you think they would have the understudies dressed and ready to go? And I was like, probably, yeah, except that we wouldn't have a movie after that. If they, but I was like, that's a good point. That she was like, the understudy would just get right on there. And
good point. I mean, it's
well, the understudy was dressed and ready to go, but then they said, cue Cassandra, but your daughter's right. They should have had her there just in case.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, we are talking about a murder here. A body was found and it was the star, you know, so it's not like they're going to just be like, the show must go on. I mean, there's appropriate times to start the show.
There is a problem with that, isn't there?
I mean, they could have gotten with the understudy but then her name would have been cleared, kind
Right.
of, so then we would be like,
Right.
One thing I
Okay.
noticed here is this is the third movie that I know of that has featured a theater.
Yeah, because we have Mystery 101,
Mhm.
Playing Dead. We
Mhm.
have
Crossword.
Aurora-
we have Aurora Teagarden, a very,
a very
foul play.
Mhm.
We have this one, Picture Perfect Mysteries, Exit Stage Death.
Mhm. And a
And-
crossword mysteries, abracadabra.
Oh yeah, well
Oh.
that was a magician show. So
Oh, sure. Still,
yeah, it's gray area.
Wasn't there a garage sale mystery that was featured in
A
a theater-ish? Maybe not a play, but I feel like it was in a theater. Because I remember
don't
Lori's on the
believe so.
floor and she opens the trap door and then the murderer comes in. Spoiler alert if you've not seen this yet. But I feel like that's the thing, but it was not a play premise. It had to do with the theater, but it was not a play premise.
I don't remember that one.
There's
I
like
don't remember.
700 of those, so it's okay.
Yeah,
if you don't
that's
remember.
true.
Yeah.
So this one I kind of already said, like, who gets murdered? I said it was the star, but I mean, it happens like right before this play goes on, and I always want to see these plays. Actually, I always think that and they never happen.
And of course, because why not? Allie finds the body.
Mhm.
Because she goes, why do you have a backstage photographer going to check on the star?
Like,
I don't know.
That's the assistant stage manager's job, or a technician, or
I know.
somebody else, not the backstage photographer.
So funny. I mean, they were a mess that night. The star came in late. People were running around. Things were just really unspoken. I actually felt like they set up this moment really well.
They did.
They introduced so many characters in the first 10 minutes and so many suspects. Even you kind of were like,
yeah, absolutely.
And that was really fun. They set it up really well, I thought.
Yeah, they totally did.
Yeah.
And of course, we have Sam to the rescue, kind of. I don't know if we'd call it to the rescue, but
am I not surprised to see you here?
He's there. Investigating the body. All right, the first person I have here is Laura. Laura is the understudy. She was getting ready, and Cassandra, who is now dead, runs in late. Laura is already dressed, ready to go, and she is not happy that she does not get to go on stage tonight. What do y'all think about Laura?
Yeah.
She was my pick at the beginning. The only thing is that she was too obvious.
Yeah.
She was too obvious, and so I said, no, probably not her, because she's the obvious choice. But, in real life, that would totally be grounds for accusing her of murder.
Total motive, just obvious motive.
Complete motive.
Complete
motive right there. Yes.
Yeah, except she kept insisting the whole time, like, I'm sorry she's dead, but I wanted, she wants to do the show and all this. And then she invited the critic to come to the show, not to see her because she planned to be on the stage, not Cassandra, but to see how bad Cassandra was. I thought that was funny.
That's passive aggressive.
That is so rotten.
But here's the thing though, like, what if she was actually really good? Right. I mean, you know what I'm saying? What if it's just her opinion?
It was just obvious that she wasn't, because everyone started alluding to this relationship she had with someone in the cast. So now we're looking at all these, who did she have a relationship in the cast?
Right.
That guy who ran down and ran into Detective Acosta down under the stage or whatever, or behind the stage. And he gives his full name and he's like, oh, I need to go back there. And he's Giles.
Oh, Roger Giles. He's the next person on my list.
Roger Giles. I mean, suspicious right away, obviously.
Yeah.
Like, okay, who is this guy? Of course, I thought he was the one she was having, a relationship with, secret relationship, but that turned out not to be.
Yeah. So let's talk about Roger Giles for a second here. So he is the one that ran past Sam. He also works at the bar. He was late. He was looking for his keys, and the murder weapon was part of his character's costume.
Yeah.
What do we think of Roger?
Yeah. He doesn't help himself out actually with I mean all of these clues point to him, and it seems like evidence even, but he was like, no, I'm not in the first act, I'm in the second act, I didn't have my costume on,
I have 6 lines.
Oh my gosh, that part right there made me laugh so hard, because I've been in the theater a lot, and I haven't done a whole lot of community or professional theater, but I know enough about the world. And so for them to be questioning him, well, what about your dressing room? And just to hear him laugh out loud, like, I have 6 lines. I'm like, what does that mean to I don't have a dressing room. I loved the theater talk. I loved the jargon, and it just played so well into the fact that the actors were not helping themselves at all, because they were trying to theater speak to cops, and it's just like, don't do that, guys.
Speak normal English.
Yes. So I always think that her pictures should play a bigger part in solving the mystery, and they play a small part.
They did in the first one.
They did.
They played a really big part in the first one, but you're right, that's the pictures have kind of taken a supporting role, if you will.
They really have. So another late cast member, we have a lot of lateness here. First, we have Cassandra running in late.
Unprofessional.
We have here Roger, who's running around late. We have now Kevin. Kevin plays opposite of Cassandra. He is late on stage. That poor maid is like yelling her lines multiple times, emphasizing every single word.
I said.
And like, pause right here. That's okay. Again, back to y'all's point about how this is supposed to be like a big play, like akin to Off-Broadway or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, ooh, and a critic in there, and y'all are gonna be like, I said this. Like, we don't.
Yeah, that's a college rookie mistake. If somebody doesn't come, if somebody doesn't come right on their cue, you ad lib.
Yeah, you play it off.
You play it off. That's exactly what you do.
You start making stuff up. Make yourself look good. But
Exactly.
this was like that play. I don't know. It probably got really bad reviews. I mean, especially after the murder, or
Right.
But that's neither here nor there. But Kevin is late. He is late.
And he's one who, he's a real sharp looking guy, and so you kind of are, like my thought went to, oh, maybe this is the guy. Is this the guy that she was involved with and stuff? And he's
not bad to look at.
No, Brendan Zub, hello.
So
he too was immediately suspicious, though. He his costume broke or something. He needed it to go get fixed, and so he just wasn't where he should have been when he should have been there, which made him very suspicious.
Yeah. He had a belt that he took to Sarah, but Sarah, who is Neil's wife, was not there, so he was alone. So that also kind of, not helping your case, buddy. Not helping your case.
Does not bode well.
No. But what do we find out about Kevin later on? That's so weird and random.
Well, I mean, his KT, his initials were in the victim's planner.
Yes.
And so they went to the place the address that they found in the planner next to KT because they assumed it was him. And they go and it's
What
like,
are we gonna find inside? This big suspenseful moment.
And that looks like a back alley door.
I know.
I mean, but that would be the entrance that she would go in if she worked there, which is what
That's
she would,
true.
yeah, which is what she was asking him. Like he ended up working at this party place and doing kids parties, and she wanted a job. She needed a job, I guess, and extra money. So that was funny. But what else were you thinking, Kaycee?
That's exactly it. That's the really
He
random
played
weird
a
one.
toy soldier.
He was a birthday party entertainer, which, I mean, I was not expecting that
No.
at all. I mean, when I walk in and I see basically Discovery Zone, I'm like,
What the?
what?
I was so flabbergasted. What are you hoping to find here?
Definitely not a children's party. But then he turns around. So that was kind of fun. You know, did that immediately though, like get him out of your suspect lineup as far as he had an explanation pretty much for everything.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. He was not really high on mine. I really wasn't paying attention to him.
Yeah.
Because we'll get to the next person, the next people, because it's a couple. Neil and Sarah Kahn. Now, Neil, he did a bunch of really good plays before, and then he just kind of went away, and then he's making his big comeback, and so he's doing a practice run through comeback in this little town before he takes it off to make something bigger, I guess. And then there's his wife Sarah, and Sarah she is the seamstress. She does all the costuming, and we see them in their really nice home. We hear them arguing, and then it's just, honky-dory from there. So what do you all think about Neil and Sarah?
Neil scared me.
Neil, why?
He had very intense eyes. And yes, he had very intense eyes. And when somebody looks at you like that and says, "That must have been very frightening," you're like, "Okay, leaving the room now. Thank you. Goodbye."
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, his eyes terrified me.
Yeah. He seemed fine at the beginning, he and Sarah, and they're the director and the costume designer. They're married. They host the cast at this party, and just like, let's stick together type of thing.
Trying to pull everybody together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we hear them arguing about money. So they were arguing about money and a debt that they had, and he was like, "I'll take care of it." So then, of course, that makes you go, "Aha, okay, so we have money to deal with here."
Mm-hmm.
But he needed this play to be a success in order to handle his money. So we could talk about red herrings later, but that was kind of a little bit of a red herring for me. I kept going back to, but the play needs to be a success, like.
Yeah.
So why would he do
why would you kill?
like
yeah,
that?
exactly. Why would you kill your lead? Yeah, he wasn't high on my suspect list, but his wife sure was.
Really?
Really?
Yeah, she really was. I don't know if it's because of the actress, and she just has a really good way of like looking real sly,
Yeah.
And I feel like she's played a murderer before.
Okay.
And so
She played a murder suspect before.
A murder suspect. Was it a suspect? Was she a suspect?
She was a suspect in Matchmaker Mysteries, but she ended up being a good fiance. I think she didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I don't remember. Now that I'm talking myself into a hole. I'm like, wait a minute, maybe she was the murderer.
Wait, what's her name again?
Oh, no. It was the business partners. The blonde and the other guy, the business partners in that movie. Anyway, so she was not on my suspect list. This Sarah, she kind of came out of, she came out of nowhere for me, but he was. I was suspicious of him but I didn't know what his motive would be. Neil, the director.
So she was high on me because another thing that I have heard, and I think Candace Cameron Bure said this in an interview, you meet the murderer within the first 10 minutes of a movie. I think it was said in one of the somebody's interview. I want to say it was CCB's, but anyways, so every time I watch these mysteries, I always look first 10 minutes and I'm like, who's behind the scenes here?
Who?
And like, she was very much like, but why? But she was also connected to, you know, important people. So that's why she was on my suspect list.
Yeah. Okay.
Up here.
It's good to know.
Yeah. All right.
The one suspect who came out of like nowhere to me, and I still kind of don't remember why he was even connected, was this security guard at the newspaper.
Yes.
Ex-boyfriend.
He was Cassandra's ex-boyfriend, Mike Tremont. He was the old security guard and ex-boyfriend.
I missed the whole ex-boyfriend explanation. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, he was Cassandra's ex-boyfriend. He bought the roses to try to make a gesture.
That's
and
right.
She threw them in the trash.
Which is not a good sign.
It's not good manners.
No.
It's not good manners no matter what it is, you know.
So another kind of a side storyline we have here is the whole billiards hall thing.
Right.
So first of all, if y'all were out on a date or whatever, and there happens to be a bunch of scary looking dudes and a billiards table, would you go up to them and be like, hey, can I play with y'all?
No, absolutely not.
Even if you were good?
Yeah, well, I stink at pool, which helps, you know.
I think it's one of Allie's secret talents, and she thought she could get him, which she was getting him, you know, this con man. She was beating him at his own game until they cheated. So she just was, you know, just a little cocky in that moment and wanted to play.
Right.
Well, that's the other thing. How do you feel about being asked on a date only to find you're being used for a story? I'm just like, you got some bad form there, Mr. Drake.
Yeah, no kidding. But the pool hall people, George and Tony. Okay, first of all, that sounds like, you know, The Sopranos. Second of all, they look scary.
Yeah.
Third of all, I was very confused about how all of this was like, how it was all meshing together with the murder.
Me too.
Right.
Honestly, like I'm still a little unclear on that. The only thing that I've connected here, and the baker Carl, he got broken into or something like that. It was all a little confusing as to why that was a side story.
Yeah, it all centers around Tony. This basically was running a small town mob operation. And so he's got the big bucks, he's loaning, he's, you know, warning people, and you know, the break-ins, right, were his thing. Like, he was like, if you're not gonna pay me back, I'm gonna break in, I'm gonna, or whatever. Like, it all revolved around this Tony guy, who we find out Neil was involved with.
Yeah, he owed him money.
Yeah.
You don't talk to Tony unless you're giving him money or you owe him money.
Right. Yeah. And so this whole convoluted thing with Carl the baker and Tony and what's his name, George, all them. Carl, he owed money to Tony, who broke into his bakery shop and used Mike, who was moonlighting for him, to get back. I don't know. It was all convoluted, and Mike was attached to Cassandra. Right. And that's the connection. And I feel like, we can go to our next segment, that was a giant red herring.
Giant.
Huge.
Yes.
Giant.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, money, it's right, love or money, right? And so they kind of had
You took the words right out of my mouth, Kari. It's love or money.
I mean, they really played up this money angle like big time. And so I guess they had to. It was a part of it, but it's kind of confusing.
It was confusing. I'm still a little baffled by that, but to wrap it all up, back to the pictures. Maya, Allie, Noah, they're sitting around and they're looking at all the pictures and they're talking, oh, who could have done this and what and whatever. And Noah points out something because he's reading through the script, something that Maya should have probably done, at least been familiar with it, which also another thing too. Now, I am not a person of the theater. I have been in several plays myself. I've read, and I'm the one with like the 3 lines. Like, look, there's a star in Bethlehem, baby Jesus. Like, you know, I've had my fair, you know, share of a few lines. But I will tell you, I knew the story. But how do you not know how the story ends, Maya?
It just shows how hilariously aloof Maya is. I mean, she's just a hilarious character to me, and she always has. I forgot how much I liked her from the past ones. She's just like, she's a little superficial. She's just, you know, she has these dreams of acting, but it's really just about her. She has no idea what's going on, and it was so funny. That was a funny moment. I laughed out loud
because she has absolutely no idea how to be subtle.
Right.
That made me laugh.
I think I should go with something more subtle.
And when she's practicing all her lines, oh, so funny.
But then she used her line that she practiced later. Did you guys got that? Like, she was practicing this line at the beginning, like, what can I ad lib? And, you know, or she said her line. And then that's the line she actually used on Sarah at the very end.
I'm sorry, I forgot. I'm late for an appointment. Yes, that's right.
Oh, good catch. Good catch.
Very good catch.
Good catch.
That was funny.
That was funny. But yeah, Noah realizes as he's reading the play that the main character in the play that they were supposed to be doing, the main character was strangled by the man she was having an affair with. Which, who wrote this play?
Let's see.
Yeah.
Neil Kahn. And who ended up dead? Cassandra. The main character. So we discover in a round of all these events here, Allie goes to the theater. She runs into Neil. Meanwhile, Maya is over at the Khan's house talking to Sarah. They're just having tea, you know, no big deal.
It's a lovely little chat.
And what do we find out after a little game of cat and mouse between Neil and Allie, which freaked me out. I was like, oh gosh.
That was gross. Actually, I think she thought, did she go there thinking Neil killed Cassandra?
I think she did.
She went there thinking he did. So she's like, I don't even know, you know, why do they do this? She went there to confront the killer. And then as they're unpacking, she's realizing it wasn't him. It was actually Sarah. It was Sarah. So that was kind of scary.
He's covering for her.
Yeah, he knew, but he was covering for his wife, which was super scary. He turned scary.
Oh yeah, he did.
Oh my gosh. I was talking about his eyes earlier. That's when his eyes got terrifying. They were bugging out of his face. I love my wife. I'm like, okay. You're doing a very good job with your role. Nothing superficial about your performance here.
Nope. Not to mention, so Sam comes rushing in, as does Sarah with a gun.
Right, so Sam saves the day, and we love that. He comes in, he saves her, he gets Neil in handcuffs, and then, but nope, Allie comes in, she's being led by gunpoint by Sarah, but Allie gets so brave at that point because she recognizes this prop gun that Sarah has in her hand.
Because of the previous encounter.
I loved it. She was so brave. She's like, I know this is a prop gun. So she goes and she takes it. Sarah gets led away. Neil gets led away. And all of a sudden, Detective Acosta, Sam, comes and he's like, I love the look he gives her. He's like, what are you doing?
You idiot.
And then he like takes the bullets out of the real gun.
It's a prop gun, and he just empties it out. Oh,
That was a great moment.
It was such a great moment.
fabulous moment.
It was a great twist too, just because you would think it'd be Neil. I mean,
Yeah.
at that point,
Yeah.
up until that point, I mean, for me,
Yeah.
even thinking Sarah was, the murderer early on, I was like, oh shoot, I was wrong. And then they twist, and I was like, oh, I was not wrong.
Mm.
Yes.
Good job.
Thank you. So
Mhm.
that wraps up the mystery portion, but let's really quick talk about the cutie pies,
Yes, please.
Sam and Allie.
Mhm.
They're getting on the same page now, they're building that
Yeah.
relationship. Early on, they were very much at odds. Sam was the typical detective, like, what you doing here? Get out. And she's like, I'm just taking pictures.
Click.
Happiness. And they end I love how the movie ends with them painting. Like, it's just such a fun way to end. Like, you can tell they're getting closer.
Yeah.
And they're building a friendship.
Yeah.
And they're just having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Well,
But
and
there's
let's
so many cute clues along the way in this one, which I love those little things. I really hold on to those little things, like
Mhm.
how he was worried for her safety, and she
Mhm.
said, "Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it." He said, "Okay," but then he made the decision to sit in his car all night outside.
Oh,
my
that was
gosh.
sweet.
That was my favorite part
teased
in the whole movie.
Yeah, so cute. And then, like, they start going to each other in these important moments, and that
Mhm.
was just precious to me. So what did you see, Cammie, that you just loved? And
Well, you kind of took my scene,
oh,
but
sorry.
no, but one of the things that I loved is she did not hesitate a second to call him after she got attacked.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
that was in the past. She's like, no, I'm not calling him. No, I'm gonna follow him, whatever. She got in the car, she called him. And then even though she is still insisting that he doesn't need to stay, he doesn't need to take care of her, he is still he's getting her water, she's sitting and recouping. And then
Mhm.
she gets out of the shower, she's wrapped up in her robe, and she goes and looks out of the window, and she just smiles
Because she sees
Yeah.
him there.
because she sees his car. And then she totally pulls the best prank on him ever, calling him, what are you okay, I'm coming right in. No, like, Sam, I'm out of syrup. It's just adorable.
That was.
I am so waiting for them to kiss. When is
Ah,
it gonna happen?
It's gonna be like movie 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Probably like movie 5, I'm gonna guess.
Oh my
Predictions.
That's like Mystery 101. It was
Mhm.
5
Oh, it took them forever.
Mm,
ever. I
yes.
think they very well could have kissed at this last one, her coming to help him paint and stuff. But it was super sweet how it ended, like you
Yeah.
said, just helping
Yeah.
him paint. We're still developing this relationship. We're not rushing anything. But there were a lot of more bricks laid on that, really cool wall of a relationship.
Yeah.
The wall of trust.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, that wraps up this installment of Picture Perfect Mysteries. And now we are going to move on to Aurora Teagarden with our girl, Candace Cameron Bure, our best friend on the podcast. Please come on the podcast. That's our little plug. So,
Don't
Reunited.
forget our boy, Niall Mater.
Niall Mater. That's
Oh.
right. Niall. All right. Reunited, and it feels so deadly. Aurora's high school reunion turns deadly when a body is found in the hotel pool. Aurora and her Real Murders Club help investigate which classmate was most likely to kill. Stars Candace Cameron Bure, Niall Mater, and Mary Lou Henner. So, first off, got to ask you guys the question. Have you guys been to your high school reunions?
Yes.
I went to my 10-year, but not any others. My 20. I had a 10 and a 15 and a 20. I'm
Okay.
older, guys.
I have only had a 10-year. My 20-year is supposed to be next year because I graduated in 01.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we'll see. Like I said, I had my 10-year one.
And you
and I went.
yeah.
I went. It was kind of a thrown together thing.
Mhm.
It wasn't nearly as organized.
Yeah.
But it was fun. It was fun
Yeah.
seeing the old gang again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't been to my 20-year reunion yet because it's supposed to be happening next year. So we'll
Ah.
see if it happens.
So I went to my 10-year reunion in summer 2018. Forced to go because my friend put it together and I helped her with the details and everything. Personally, I did not want to go. We ran into each other at a alumni game, which was for all the school alumni earlier back that spring. And she was like, "Hey, our 10 years coming up. We should do something." And I was like, I'm good. No. And then I felt bad because my husband, who was standing behind me, who was like, "Kaycee, you're such a jerk." And I was like, "Did I come off as a jerk? I didn't mean to." So I texted her. I was like, "Hey, girl, I'm so sorry if I came across as a jerk. I really love you guys, like my friends, the friends that I was really close to. I don't really care about seeing anybody else in our class. But if you want to do this, I will help you." That's why I went, and it was fine. Not a whole lot of people went. It was at a local restaurant on our beach and stuff. So it was really nice. But yeah,
were one of your friend group, were they a murderer? Because that would have made it really more fun.
So no. One thing, back to the movie, we discovered that Arthur went to high school with Aurora and Sally, which baffles Nick's mind. He's like, "How the heck did I miss that?"
We missed that, you know.
Like, we knew that Arthur and Ro dated at one point.
But we hear that for a millisecond in the very first movie, and then it's forgotten. You know, and then Jack Landon says it. "I hear you dated Aurora," right in front of Nick, of course. Briefly, very briefly.
Yeah, by the way, this is his fiance. Or this is her fiance.
Poor Arthur. That must have been so awkward for Arthur. Briefly, very, very briefly, this is her fiance.
Yes, I really, honestly, I'm convinced that they just came up with that just so Arthur could be there at the reunion.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah,
it makes sense.
The other thing I was going to say with Arthur is that the fact that he and Ro and Sally have a history together kind of makes sense why Arthur is always like, "All right, Ro.
Yes.
This is police business."
Well, he knows her as the smartest girl in school. So he's like, if she has this point, then I'm going to listen to her.
Right. He kind of it's kind of like he's patting her on the head like, "Okay, we're going to pacify you, but you also have to let me do my job, but I'm not going to get real mad about it, but I have to pretend to get mad because then Lynn's going to get mad at me." Right. And we don't want Lynn getting mad at me now.
We do not want Lynn getting mad at Arthur.
Oh, she is awesome, that Lynn.
Lynn. Speaking of Lynn, we don't see much of Lynn, and we find out that's because Miranda couldn't fly back to reshoot because this movie was shot in the middle of COVID, so they had to shut down production, and then they had to go back and reshoot it post-pandemic.
That makes sense.
That's why Miranda was not able to be in a whole lot, which was really sad because, man, we really miss Lynn and her sass.
She's a good character.
She's great.
Yeah, she's a really good character. One thing about her that is starting to just kind of upset me just the slightest bit is she seems very unsympathetic to this man who is her husband. I just, hey, sorry you lost your friend, and he's soaking wet. he just
Oh,
found the
Yeah.
guy that
Mhm.
he
Yeah.
played football with dead, and he says, "Thanks, hun." You can totally tell that he wants to say more, or that he wants a hug or something. And she walks away. I'm just like, oh, poor Arthur.
Lynn is nothing if not professional. And so
She's
if
way
she
too professional.
doesn't think that emotion is there, she's saving it for home, is what I'm thinking. Like once they
I
get
know. I know. I think your husband deserves a tiny bit of slack when he just found somebody,
I think we've only seen her emotional one time, and that's when he gets shot in one of the other previous movies.
Yeah.
Remember, I can't remember
Yeah,
which
and she
one,
didn't
but
even get that emotional.
no,
I
she
mean,
did. She like ran to him and she like
Well,
fell
that's
at his feet and she was like, "Oh my goodness!" Like she was freaking
okay,
out.
yeah. You're right. You're right.
good.
But I think that's the only other time we've seen Lynn like out of her character.
Well, except when she gave birth.
Oh, that too.
That was a fun one too, actually.
That was fun.
That was fun.
Well warranted. Alrighty, so we've kind of set the stage up for you guys in a little bit of a roundabout fun way. We now know Jack Landon, he's the football star. He just comes down and up those steps, insert foot in mouth, takes foot out of mouth, bounce back down. He also mentioned something about how he can make everybody rich and invest with him. Yay, Jack. At that moment, I was like, yeah, he's the one that's getting killed.
Yeah. Like, who wouldn't want to kill that guy?
Right? So let's run through some suspects. We have Amy Landon, who we find out does not get along, does not like her mother-in-law, Jack's mom.
Yes.
She's also very angry.
She's a very angry woman.
Yeah.
She really
Yeah.
is.
She seemed more sad to me than angry, honestly. I just
Really?
I don't know. She seemed a little scary at some points.
Well, we can go there. Scary. So the knives.
Okay. When she walked into the room holding the knife, I had to click the play button to see how much longer was left in the movie, because I thought, this is it. She's coming in to threaten them. She's the killer.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I thought. And then I looked like, oh wait, there's way too much of the movie left.
I think there's like 45 minutes left, 30 minutes left.
No, it wasn't that long, but still,
okay.
it was
yeah.
long enough. It
Yeah,
was
the
long
knife
enough.
thing. Yeah, that was so weird. Coming
It was
in, it's
very
like,
weird.
"Hey,
Super.
what are you doing? Put the knife down. Don't you know that he was killed with a knife?" Yeah.
Like, oh, you're not helping your case. But
No.
did you guys have any inklings? Do y'all think that Amy was the murderer? Did she kill her husband for his insurance money? If he had any money.
I never thought so. No.
I never thought the insurance money, but with the whole Cassie Reynolds thing,
Mm-hmm.
that would not have surprised me if she had killed him over that.
Yeah, that's true.
His
Although
old girlfriend, who they had actually had a
They were
recent relationship
engaged.
with.
mhm.
They
Right?
were
They-
engaged, and he called off the wedding.
He
So it
basically
wasn't
left
just
off.
a high school relationship. It was like into adulthood, is what I.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
were on again, off again. And actually, Cassie Reynolds is my next person on my list here. We kind of have
thought
to
it
talk
was
to them
her.
together.
I
But-
thought it was her for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
That hotel room thing with the security camera and the balcony, like oh man.
I loved Ro climbing down the balcony. It was awesome.
That was a funny scene.
That was fun. I'm not gonna lie. I was a little like Sally. Like, I can't watch. I can't watch. But Cassie is the head of the committee. She was the popular girl. She was engaged to Jack. And I think they were on again, off again. He basically leaves her at the altar, marries Amy a month later. I mean, Cassie has all the signs of being the murderer, especially when she starts pointing fingers at other people.
Right.
And then asking Coach to cover for her.
Mhm.
But not good.
Not good. Not good. So for me, Cassie was not that high on my suspect list because she seemed too obvious to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
She seemed too
Okay.
obvious for me. So I'm gonna jump to who I thought, I thought my initial thought was Parker Stevens. But then we'll get into that in a little bit, but I switched my mind about a good 45 minutes in to Cassie's best friend, Shauna Conway.
I know. That's what my daughter thought.
Ah,
My daughter's like, oh, she did it.
I thought,
Shauna?
yeah, because again, with the theory of we are introduced to the murder the first 10 minutes, we meet Shauna and she is like out for Cassie. Like, she's like, Cassie's my best friend. Oh, did you hear this? Oh, did you see this?
incredibly loyal.
Very, very, very loyal. And I was like, I could see it. I could see her being the one to pull the
Right.
knife
Yeah.
on Jack and be like, you messed with my best friend and you did all these other things to her or whatever. I don't know. We'll see how the story goes. Knife, freaks out, hides the knife. And she's like
Right.
such a minor character, especially at his memorial. And she's still talking bad about him. And I'm like, ooh. So I thought it was her.
Okay.
She was definitely on my list. One thing is I've kind of given up trying to figure out who it is with these things because they do a really good job of making everyone look guilty.
Yes.
And so I just kind of throw up my hands and go, okay, I'm just gonna watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With these
I will say this really quick. The person who ends up being the murderer, I won't say yet, but the person who ends up being the murderer, I did not think it was them because I said they were mentioned too much. Their part was too big. That no, it doesn't work that way.
Exactly.
Right.
That's exactly what I thought too. I was like,
Yeah,
well,
they threw me a loop.
them, but it can't be.
right.
Yeah.
But before we get too far into that, let's talk about Coach Caldwell.
Oh,
Coach was pretty suspicious at first too.
Coach was pretty suspicious. He had a real reason to go out for blood. He and Jack got into an altercation. He had blood on his suit. He was owed money. He lied. What did y'all think? For me, it was I believe the whole, would you be throwing a memorial service and going, I mean, is that too dark for Hallmark? I don't know. It may have happened before, but he was suspicious, especially with the whole lying thing and the money. Because if it's not love, it's money.
Yeah, if he was someone else besides Coach, like this guy's actual coach, not just a random teacher at the school, not just, but this guy's actual coach, I was going to be very surprised if he actually was the murderer. Because I'm like, no, he was his coach. Like, he coached this kid and they're grown up. Like, they still call him coach. And from experience, having coaches in high school, like, there's a special relationship.
It is very much.
You know, you still call your coach, even as a 40-year-old woman, like, hey, coach. So I was like, it can't be him. It can't be him.
Yeah. That was my other thing too. It's like, that is a special bond because your coach isn't your teacher. It's it's the adult that you confide in when you have issues with friends or with school or whatever. Like, that's a real special bond. So I don't know. He was a little like,
you know, he was angry. He was suing him. I mean, he was like, there were motives there that we had to sort through.
The reasoning of he wouldn't throw him a memorial if he was guilty, I didn't buy that because we've seen countless examples of people doing things to put suspicion off of them or trying to make appearances look good. So I didn't buy that, but I also didn't buy that the coach was a murderer.
Yeah.
Just
he didn't give off those vibes.
Yeah, it's the lying part is like, oh, naughty coach. No. Don't do that.
No.
But I don't know. It was just it just didn't it didn't seem to be him.
No.
That's
Yeah.
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 So curiously, the person it did seem to be, they just consistently pointed evidence at this person, and you're like, it just can't be. It can't be them. Like, this is not how these work.
Yeah.
I'm jumping ahead. Go ahead, Kaycee.
Let's go there. Oh, but real fast, one relationship we should talk about really quickly is Shirley. Shirley is Jack's mama.
Oh man, she's got problems.
What was
Shirley-
with her?
So Shirley does not like Amy, but she loves Cassie, which is weird to me. But I don't think she would have murdered her son, quite honestly.
I had that brief thought. I'm like, would she kill her own son to say, you stupid man, why did you marry that woman?
Yeah.
In the heat of the moment, in an argument or something like that, but so I had that very brief thought that I don't know if I could put that past her, but changed my mind. Still, she was terrible towards Amy.
Oh, she was
terrible.
Awful.
That's like the one time Amy showed some vulnerability, when she asked for a hug.
I know.
Her husband just died,
Oh.
son just died. It's like, can I hug you or something like that? And she was like, no, I'm good.
I'm fine.
No.
And in front of Aida too. And Aida's like,
Like, oh my goodness.
I was proud of Aida. I was so proud of Aida right there,
Mhm.
saying she just lost her husband.
Yeah.
I know you lost your son, but she just lost her husband.
Yeah.
Show a little respect. And it just
Mhm.
yeah, I really, really liked Aida and her forthcoming nature right there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that was sweet.
Well, the last person we need to talk about before we get into relationships, because I think we've talked a lot about different red herrings, we've talked about all these fun characters, is Aurora Teagarden's old high school boyfriend.
First guy she ever kissed.
First guy she ever kissed. She had his Letterman jacket. Parker Stevens.
Parker Stevens.
Kind of a nerdy guy in high school. Right? Like he was nice but a little nerdy. Like they were the smart kids together is what I understood.
Which I gotta say, the naming of these characters are perfect because Parker Stevens does sound like a real smart kid. And then Jack Landon sounds like a bro.
Right.
Like, let's be honest, he sounds like a bro. And Cassie Reynolds just sounds like a prom queen. Like, she just sounds like she had her hair done and her nails done every day. Parker Stevens seems like a nice guy. He is, chummy with Aurora. He's still playing off the nice guy. And everybody seems to love this guy except for Nick.
Yeah, except for Nick. Aurora has such fond memories of Parker, and it's like each step of the way she's like, not Parker, like, oh, he wouldn't do that. Oh, this, that doesn't sound like him. And
if I were somebody's fiance and we were about to meet an old boyfriend and she couldn't stop talking about him, and at every step of the way, and she's smiling and all of that. I mean, that would put me off a little bit too.
But she did kind of create like a little bit of an awkward thing, which I think Nick handled really well. And he was trying to be, like, there's some evidence pointing against Parker, and what about this? And someone said something to Nick, and he was like, oh, she just doesn't want to admit that he's a suspect.
Sally says, I've never seen Ro say that she needed to catch her breath. And then Nick says something like, she's having a hard time coming to grips with the fact that she might have dated a killer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
but
that's very understanding.
Yeah. Especially with somebody that you like knew so well back then. And like, I mean, I know for like me and my friends, whenever we're together, we're taken back to high school and we remember all the good memories and we don't remember any of the bad ones, and everything's just like happy, like no big deal. So it'd be easy to overlook the fact that like, ooh,
Right.
what are you guys?
Right.
And so Aurora is really taken herself back in time in a sense, because she's very much defendant of Parker, even though Cassie's constantly saying, I think it was Parker. It sounded like Parker. And Cassie, while she was the prom queen and the popular girl, she also knew Parker just as well as Aurora knew Parker, because they'd been to school together for, so many years,
She was also not famous for telling the truth. So it would be very easy for her to just try to point a finger to deflect blame.
Right.
Yeah. That's the one thing she had going against her, honestly. But everybody else, even wasn't it Coach who also said Parker Stevens? I think I heard it was Parker Stevens, because when he went back down,
Right.
he also heard an altercation too.
Right.
That's why he didn't continue his walk down there to talk to Jack. He goes back. Right. And he also says he thought it was Parker Stevens.
Yeah.
But because he and Cassie were in on the whole lying thing and the covering, well, that just taints his,
they dismiss it.
Yeah, his witness.
You're right. So the time that I kind of was like, I can't believe maybe that is this Jonas guy, that whole bachelor party thing. And he actually went to Jack Landon's bachelor party. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden it dawns on everybody like, why did you go?
Why were you at Jack's bachelor party?
You weren't friends. You weren't friends, were you? And he was like, yeah, he kind of was surprised to be invited too. I was like, there's something. He's got something over this guy, I think. Mm-hmm. But then it was the opposite. Jack had something over him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So before we get there, Aurora cannot seem to shake whatever is bothering her. So we see her scale the side of the hotel. Everyone's already freaked down there. Like, we get it. We know Cassie could have like come down here by scaling the side of the hotel from 3 stories up. But she can't shake this feeling of something. And she says something that she remembered. She remembers something she said previously to Parker, which was the fact that when they were studying, he was late and he hid the key high up.
In high school.
In high school. So she, and I think begrudgingly to herself, goes back down and she goes to the place of the murder, puts her hand on the ledge and finds the murder weapon.
Oh.
It belonged to Parker Stevens.
Parker Stevens.
Okay. Get into the why.
Completely shocked that it was him. I went, oh, not Matt, because I just love that actor.
Yeah.
So,
and he's the boyfriend in Haley Dean.
Yeah, he plays Jonas. He plays Jonas and Haley Dean, and he's just so lovable in there. So you're just like, no.
But you know what? This scene where he comes upon Aurora holding the sound weapon, he was able to really turn on his psycho.
Oh yeah.
And I was like,
totally.
I can see it now, because otherwise
he turned it
like,
on.
This is Jonas from Haley Dean. This is Aurora's old high school boyfriend. But he like starts to like tell her what to think, tell her what to say, like really starts gaslighting her even. And I'm like, oh, he's crazy enough to kill.
Yeah. And even though he says, I'm not about to hurt the first girl I ever kissed, but then he says, you're not going to see it my way, are you? I'm just like, back up.
And also Nick totally called it. Totally called it.
Can I just say how much I love Nick?
Yes.
I totally love Nick. Okay.
So it comes at the right time. I mean, like, everything about this. But Parker Stevens, so he actually, so while this is also unfolding, Cassie Reynolds is adamant. She's telling Arthur she did not kill Jack. She heard a bunch of numbers, like really big numbers, and that gets the ball rolling at the police station. 17,000, etc., etc. So
50,000, blah 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 blah.
in the
blah,
Cayman
blah.
Islands, meanwhile, Aurora is being confronted by Parker Stevens. We have not Niall. We have Nick coming in to save the day. We get Arthur. We get everybody involved, and Parker admits to Aurora the fact that he was being blackmailed by Jack Landon because he hit a guy, and Jack convinced him to, oh no, it'll be fine, and then was like basically blackmailing him.
Yeah.
And
which is the most manipulative, awful thing ever, to convince somebody to leave an injured man in the car instead of calling for help. And then he dies and you say, I'm going to say something if you don't pay me money. I mean, this guy was terrible.
Awful.
Oh
Awful.
my gosh.
Awful. Absolutely terrible. But Parker Stevens, Aurora's first kiss, locked away for life.
Locked away for life.
Locked away.
Exactly.
Poor Aurora. I mean, like the fact that she's dated a murderer. No wonder she's got a mind for murder as a
For sure. Oh, that's so true.
Well, he wasn't a murderer back then, you know.
No, but it just seems to follow her around into adulthood.
Yeah, very true.
I have to say, overall, this wasn't my favorite Aurora Teagarden. And I wish that it had a little bit more elements of, I don't know, cuteness between her and Nick. I was ready for a little bit more. You know,
I agree, because this is the first one when they're engaged.
They're engaged.
And yeah, I would have liked. I'm wondering if they didn't do as much cuteness on purpose because of the whole COVID thing.
Yeah.
You know, so that was one thought that I had, but I will completely and totally agree. I'm just like, you guys are just doing this, you know, these barely little pecks everywhere. And I'm like, you guys are engaged now. Come on.
I know.
Yeah, you have to wonder if it's because of like reshooting in COVID and everything.
Yeah.
Just to be safe.
In light of that, then it was done really well, I think. Just because they had a lot up against it.
Yeah.
But I wanted it to be more, especially after that. Really, I thought the last one was really good with the getting engaged and, you know, being interrupted by this mystery each time he was trying to like propose to her. And super cute. So I kind of expected, like, even one of my daughters said, is this the one where they're going to get married? And I was like, no, they're going to milk this engagement for a little while.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they sure did.
Yeah. But we do have a really cute moment ending the movie, which is Nick talks to Aida and asks for her blessing upon the marriage of Nick and Aurora, and her mom.
Aida was she said the sweetest answer. Oh my gosh.
So sweet.
There was never even a question.
I know.
There was never even a question, and I know that you will take care of her. I know that she will be safe.
Yeah.
Oh, so sweet. Oh, such a sweet way to end the movie.
You're right.
Sure.
So nice.
Yeah.
And see, that's when the two of them got a little bit more cozy and comfortable with each other.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So I kind of wondered if they made them, putting the whole COVID thing aside, I wondered if maybe they made the two of them just a tiny bit more distant from each other to make the whole Parker Stevens relationship a little bit more
in the front
forward.
Yeah. Makes sense.
True. That's true.
Then, you know, to make it look like Parker was coming between them more.
Yeah, Nick didn't even play it jealous, though. He didn't play it jealous at all. And so that kind of makes you think a little? Maybe just because he kept suspecting him.
Yeah,
just a tiny bit.
just enough to make it interesting.
Just enough.
Yeah.
Right.
But you know, I gotta say, I'm quoting an old song, kind of. I'm paraphrasing. I love the way Nick loves her.
Yeah.
I
Aw.
love the way, because he is right there. He is so supportive.
Yeah.
And one thing, it's such a tiny little thing,
Mhm.
but when she slips and almost loses her grip while she's scaling down the hotel, he immediately runs.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He doesn't just hold there for a second. He immediately runs to go and help her.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and then, and then when he figures out that she's okay, he rushes back down and is right there. And then when she tries to go back up,
We're good. We know. We get the
We believe
picture.
you.
we'll take your word for it.
Super cute. Alrighty. So to wrap this up, I have a few little fun questions that have nothing to do with the movies, but they have to do with mysteries, just to have a little bit of fun. Nothing to do with the movies, just your basic knowledge of pop culture, child pop culture, in mystery stuff. Okay, I'm gonna name something, a group of people, you're gonna name me what they're in. This was a book series and it turned into movies. Henry, Jesse, Violet, and Benny.
Boxcar?
That is correct. The Boxcar Children. Okay. Fictional amateur sleuth whose best friends are Bess Marvin and George Fane. Female.
Nancy Drew.
That is correct.
Wow, Cami, nice. Okay, this is I'm not embarrassed by this at all. I'm just learning things.
Okay. All right. Frank and Joe.
Kaycee, I have no idea. Frank and Joe, who are they?
I have no idea.
The Hardy Boys.
Oh, the Hardy
If I would have
Boys,
said
of
Frank
course.
and Joe Hardy, it would have given it away.
Well, yeah.
Okay. What famous novelist created Hercule Poirot and Jane Marple? Author.
Agatha Christie.
That is correct.
Ah!
Okay. And my last question is where When Calls the Heart and Signed, Sealed, Deliver collide. Dun, dun, dun. These two Hallmark actors star together in this 2000s TV series. I can't name it, it'll give it away, but the premise is the kids of a private detective in hiding run the detective agency in his absence.
Say that again.
The kids of a private detective in hiding run the detective agency in his absence. Who were the Hallmark stars? And I will tell you, the When Calls the Heart person is not a main character.
Okay.
But this person appeared on the show for a few episodes.
Cami, take it away.
Who starred together back in the 2000s for this TV teen series? Just take a wild guess. It's a boy and a girl.
A boy and a girl in. Okay. Is the boy from When Calls the Heart?
Yes.
Or okay. So it's a boy from When Calls the Heart and a girl from Signed, Sealed, Delivered.
And the boy from When Calls the Heart has done a few movies.
Okay.
Aha.
Is it Andrew Walker?
No. It is
Okay.
not somebody who is a main name.
Okay. Okay, so for Signed, Sealed, Delivered, I'm going to guess Crystal Lowe.
That is not correct.
Oh, okay. Kristen?
It was Kristen Booth who played
Okay.
Tracy Grace.
Okay, so Kristen played Tracy Grace.
And the guy was Dick Daring. So the TV series is Daring and Grace. And this is early
Okay.
2000s. And the guy, he plays on Hallmark. I think usually he's the other guy. He's also a little younger than she is. Which, by the way, if
Wait a
you're into
minute.
some
Wait a
mysteries,
minute.
you can
Wait,
go to
hold
YouTube
on.
and check it out.
Do not tell me it was Marcus Blucas.
No.
No, not Marcus Blucas, but
Marcus Rosner?
Yes, Marcus Rosner.
No.
Okay, I was about to say, whoa.
Do you give up?
I do. I give
It's
up.
Jeremy Gilbo.
No way! Kristen and Jeremy? Oh my word!
Yeah, I think she ends up his girlfriend on the show. So it's totally 2000s. It's early 2000s. It like for me, it reminded me of like, actually, it really reminded me of like mid 1990s Power Rangers. Not gonna lie, like the cinematography and everything.
I watched mid 90s Power Rangers.
Hey, I did too, but I'm just saying, like the feel, it's kind of got that like old 90s feel to it. And Kristen is like such a baby face here. And so is Jeremy. He's like not recognizable. Anyways, this wraps up our episode of the Hallmarkies podcast. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram and all the social media areas. And you can find me at Hallmark My Words. Kari, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Hallmark Comics. That's Hallmark_comics.
And Kami, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Kami Drama Girl. Kami is spelled Kami. You can find me on the Hooked Hardy Facebook page, and you can also find me on Deliver Me a Podcast and Hardy's Hotline. Shameless plug. And my blog is hookedhardy.com.
Alrighty, till next time, we will see you again back here at the Mysteries. Bye!
Bye, everybody.